All right, folks, buckle up. You've probably seen the headlines. Linux gaming market share explodes, challenges Windows dominance. Reports everywhere are screaming that Linux just shot past 5% of Steam users in early 2026, a record high that's supposedly shaking up the entire gaming world. Sounds like a revolution, right? But here's where we pull the first thread. Because that record high of 3.2% everyone's talking about, that was actually back in November 2025. And while it did hit 5.33% in March 2026, nobody's mentioning what happened just 1 month before. So what's really going on here, and why does this explosion feel a little too neat? The surface story is already showing cracks. Digging into the most recent data reveals a far more volatile and less consistent reality. Because digging just a little deeper, we find that this explosion is more like a statistical whiplash. That impressive 5.33% leap in March 2026, it was immediately preceded by a dramatic 32% drop in February, where Linux's share plummeted by 1.15% down to 2.23%. Stat, 32%, Linux share drop. We're talking about wild, contradictory swings month to month, not steady growth. 1 month it's soaring, the next it's crashing. This isn't just noise in the data, it's a massive, unexplained volatility that screams, wait, what is actually causing these numbers to bounce around like a rubber ball? And that, my friends, leads us to a truly bizarre discovery. These inexplicable drops in Linux market share are directly linked to massive concurrent spikes in Steam users reporting Simplified Chinese as their preferred language. In February 2026, when Linux tanked, Simplified Chinese users saw a staggering 30% month-over-month increase. Think about it. An influx of millions of new users, predominantly on Windows, would naturally dilute the Linux percentage globally. It's like trying to measure the water level in a bathtub while someone's constantly pouring in more water from a different tap. So these explosions and crashes aren't just Linux users coming and going. They're largely statistical artifacts caused by a shifting user base. But even without these statistical anomalies, there's a powerful, consistent factor artificially inflating the baseline Linux numbers, making the explosion seem far more widespread than it is. And the real story, the one nobody's connecting, is the Steam Deck. Much of this perceived explosion and the higher baseline for Linux gaming market share is an indirect, disproportionate effect of Valve's handheld phenomenon. SteamOS Holo, the operating system powering the Steam Deck, consistently accounts for a massive chunk, around 25% in March 2026, sometimes over 30% of all Linux installations on Steam. This isn't a broad surge in traditional Linux desktop gaming. It's a revolutionary device creating significant, yet potentially misleading, spikes in overall statistics. B-roll, Steam Deck Gaming.jpg, person playing a game on a Steam Deck. It's conflating the success of a specific piece of hardware with a general shift in the desktop market. The explosion isn't organic growth, it's a hardware-driven illusion. So what does all this mean? Despite the headlines, the temporary surges, and the Steam Deck's undeniable success, Windows still commands over 92% of the Steam user base. The challenge to Windows dominance remains aspirational, a distant dream rather than a current reality. The story isn't a sudden organic surge, it's a complex interplay of a revolutionary gaming device, statistical noise from demographic shifts, and reporting biases. The Steam Deck is a game changer for itself, but it's not fundamentally altering the broader desktop gaming landscape in the way these explosion headlines suggest.
And we still don't know how Valve's survey methodology truly accounts for these massive, volatile demographic shifts, or what the true organic growth of Linux desktop gaming actually looks like when stripped of these powerful external influences. That's the Hole for today. I'm the Rabbit. Stay curious, stay suspicious.